almost hypocritical when you came back to discuss the fence. Because yes, you were within your rights. Yes, the property lines were covered. Whatever attempt you may or may not be making to convince anybody that it was low enough not to see the sign River Club Estates had to be raised so we could see above your fence. And I think that the reality is that just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. So relative to the history, I know what the history was. And I was there for both of those meetings.
Let's talk offline. Thanks for coming. You know, the point of that was to try and come to have a discussion with you all, so we could try and clear it up before you roll out.
We came tonight to have that discussion.
Okay, so maybe we can do it after the meeting, if you don't mind hanging around for a little bit.
I don't mind.
Anybody else?
I just have a question about, is there anything that the board has in way of, if someone violates the rules, it's in, that's, you know, I don't know, whatever, grass is too tall, the siding falls off of their house, whatever. Does the board have the means and the capability to impose a fine for doing that? And if so, is there a table of fines? And what is the procedure that you would use to do that? And has it ever been done? Has anyone ever been fined for violating the rules?
Yes. The management company does do a drive-through and give us a violation report every meeting. So in the violation report, if there is something that is not, like grass is too high, mold on the side of the house, siding falling off, we've got a report about what it is. And if the resident doesn't comply within a certain period of time,
Yes.
I believe they do get fined.
Yes.
What establishes the fine, and is there a record of, you know, if you're missing this much siding, if your grass gets this tall? I mean, how is the fine determined and where is it published? Or is it just an arbitrary number that somebody throws out to scare the homeowner or whatever?
We've engaged FSR to manage that area, so we follow their rules and their protocols. You know, we don't
We don't
define
set the
that.
price.
Okay, well, if no one pays the fine, what is the recourse?
The way it's explained to me by Helene, and I'm the treasurer, is that she gives you 30, 60, and 90 days. And depending, she'll renotice you or resend you again, depending upon the severity of what it is. Most people respond. The vast majority of people eventually come around and do something. But we have the option, the computer program has program capabilities to fine at all the various points. Now, how she determines to do that, she's a professional. Helene was here at the annual meeting, you all had the chance to meet her. She runs, I want to say 14 or 16, she runs all along the country club, along Tidewater Trail, and many of the developments. And so, we're your neighbor. I mean, we don't want to get into an individual fight with any one of you. You know, that's
Well, I'm
we're all
sure,
volunteers, so
but,
we don't, so we hire professionals
Right.
that manage according to the rules that are set.
Right.
So, in most of the board meetings, we try not even to name names. We don't know the names. We just say this individual, this house, what have you. They refer to street addresses. And that way, we try to be as impersonal as possible. We don't want to bring our personality.
An established list of
I
fines.
think the best thing
And
to
what-
do, if you have a copy of your bylaws,
Yeah,
just read it.
well, I have read it. I
Yeah,
see
bylaws
nowhere in there
don't-
that says you can
that's right.
find it.
They don't talk to fines. If you contact FSR, they can give you a schedule. Helene's great that way,
Okay.
if you're interested in those
I'm
details.
just curious.
So we have a comprehensive website FSR maintains for us. All the minutes are on YouTube, so the last year we've been recording, every minute is on there, discussions about the sign. If you wanna go back on YouTube, you can go back and look at that and see what's going on. And FSR keeps all financials, so there are documents that you can go to, and it's kind of arcane, you gotta go through the menus to find things, but all the documents are public by law, and that's the way we do things.
Okay.
Okay. Good question. I think I need to find out more too.
Along those lines, so what does our do we have an architectural review board? Do we have, or is that all left up to FSR to determine what is not appropriate in our neighborhood and what is appropriate in our neighborhood? And
Okay, well, we have been looking for volunteers to head up the architectural review board. Right now, we have a form that if you're gonna do any type of change, you need to fill out the form, which I believe is on the website.
Yes.
And when you complete, you send it to FSR, and then they send it to us to review, make sure what you're going to do is copacetic with the neighborhood. And then we send back yea or nay.
So the bylaws and the covenants are very clear and available as documents. The board reserves the authority to make all the decisions that are granted to it by the state. Now, the state has put in a law, the Homeowners Association Act, it's like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, which really clearly defines the roles and responsibilities of boards. Common areas, ours. Assets, like the signs, ours. And we have a fiduciary duty to protect those assets, to protect the common areas, protect the assets like we just redid the signs, and maintain all the common areas for safety are in our area. Now, when it comes to individual homeowners and the choices that they do on their land, the bylaws are very clear. If you need a building permit, you really should come to us as well as the county. If you're making a change to your property line or your fencing or something, it should be brought to us. And the bottom line is, you know, we've tried to be very accessible. You know, we all live here, you know, so, you know, you just ping us. John pings me probably every couple weeks and stuff mine says. So, and we'll help you through that. But the professional manager is always the easiest place to start if you have questions.
Right, well, I mean, I lived in the neighborhood, so I was one of the first houses in the neighborhood, so, like, as far as a form for changes and stuff like that,
It's on
I've
the
never
website.
known about that.
Yeah.
So, like, knowing that we have that, I'm not sure that every person in the neighborhood knows that they're supposed to be doing that. We came from Lee's Hill, where it was very clear, you would have to tear something down if you didn't have approval of the neighbors on every side, if you didn't have clear cut yes or no from the architectural board.
Yes.
And as a real estate agent, I'm really concerned about the whole direction that our neighborhood is going. Our property values are nowhere near what they need to be because of overgrown yards that I understand what you're saying about people are getting fined, but something needs to be done about it. I mean, I have a house on Tricia that's for sale right now for someone that both sides of their house, and maybe these people are getting letters, but their grass, I'm not kidding, was so high in the backyard that you couldn't see chairs in the backyard. My poor person who's trying to sell their house, that is the complaint, that when I've gotten feedback from the real estate agents, they're like, your neighborhood's a mess. These people don't wanna be in this neighborhood, because you obviously don't have any rules or any kind of anything that says this is what your neighborhood should look like. And that's a problem. I mean, we moved into this neighborhood because it was supposed to be an upkept
So
neighborhood.
on the website, there is a list of delinquencies by neighborhood, but if you want to expedite that, people can call Helene, our property manager, directly and say, hey, we've got a bad violation.
Yeah,
and
we've
can-
done that.
We can
The
step
the
up.
owner has done that, and it's still like, no, it used to be, back in the day, if you got that letter and something wasn't done, they would send somebody out and they would mow the grass and then they'd send you the bill for it.
Right.
Because that's how it should be, like,
Right.
it shouldn't be that way, the weeds shouldn't be out of control. And I understand what you're saying about the common area, but I have the trail behind my house, I'm on Stacy Run, you can't even see that trail, that is not safe, that is not kept up, you can't see it. And the weeds that are in that common area there, cause I'm in the area where it's flat,
Yeah.
the weeds in that area are a mess, and that's all blowing into my yard. So it doesn't matter how hard we try to maintain our backyard.
Well, the common areas are supposed to be mowed every 2 weeks or.
Oh, it's mowed, but it's just so full of weeds because it's flat. There's no trees or anything there, that it's just, and when they mow it, it just all blows into our yard. So, I mean, I just think we need to do something about,
Well, you're
stepping it up.
exactly right. And, you know, the challenge is, of course, is the problem's never as simple as you think it is.
no, I understand that. I
And,
mean,
and the issue that we're gonna talk about today is that 22,000 of this year's money has not been paid in. So, you know, we are incurring legal fees already that are above and beyond to enforce other actions, and we're gonna incur legal fees again. So So for the last 5 years or 4 years that I've been president, we have barely broken even. And we have not been able to collect the money from people that owe us money. So it kind of goes hand in foot. We have to have money, excess money, to hire the lawyers. You see what I'm saying?
Right, no, I do
And
understand
so
what you're
there's a
saying,
challenge, so,
but have the liens been put on people, or has it just
Yes.
been lots of notices and things like that?
Well,
Because that usually,
that takes money.
well,
And then unfortunately, liens don't get paid until they sell their house.
well,
So I have to spend $1,000 this year to lien your property to maybe get paid in 8 years. So do I wanna blow my 1,000 now in that lien? You see what I'm saying?
Right,
If I'm ahead, I'm okay. But yeah, so that's why we love having you here. Because we sit around and we say, what is the balance between how many flowers do we want to put on the monument this year out front? So if you all notice, we cut the numbers of flowers we put down on the front estate. And we're trying to cut down our landscaping costs because we've engaged attorneys to go after late fee people, large sum people, and various common area issues. And, these are things that have lingered. So we are trying, but your voice is heard. We live in a neighborhood, we want it the way too. So, the bottom line is unless we go mow the lawn, which Jack and I have gone and done on a half dozen times.
Dave was there.
We've actually taken our tractors out and mowed.
For the record,
people's
Dave
lawns.
was there.
and that's my owner has done that also. I mean, he's a little
So-
frightened on the one side, but
But
he's,
this is what community comments for. We wanna hear, and we want all the people to hear, what we hear, because his phone's ringing, my phone's ringing, things are going on, and, people need to know.
and have we, since we haven't addressed the rhinoceros in the room yet,
It's coming. It's coming.
okay, okay.
It's not.
Because my concern is that, as a real estate agent, there are our HOA bylaws and guidelines and everything for yards does not address anything like that. And no offense, John, but we didn't address it way back when you put in your statues, your carvings.
It has
And
led
now
to
it's
this.
led to this. Now, and I'm not saying, Joel's done a beautiful, his yard looks beautiful.
It's
just-
immaculate.
It's absolutely gorgeous. John, your yard is pretty too, that's not it, but we don't have anything in the guidelines now that'll stop somebody from, say, putting in a big old tractor tire full of flowers or a bathtub, or a toilet, or anything like that they wanna put in their yard now as a garden. And I think we've come to a point now where we probably need to start looking at that. Like, we need to make some changes to the covenants, because we really are, right now in real estate, our neighborhood is the laughing stock. And we are not getting property values that we need to get. So if anybody's looking to sell their house anytime soon, you're not gonna get what you need, and you guys know, I mean,
We're not going anywhere unless we get the right amount,
right,
so.
so.
Let me ask
So
you
is there
this,
anybody else
only
that feels
because
the
I want
same
to be
way?
devil's advocate here. What becomes more offensive to the end result and property, if property value is the end result? What becomes more offensive? Lawns that aren't kept or individual
Expression.
lawn art?
Well, I think
Because unfortunately, none of us can define, and you won't get it into the covenants, what a definition of appropriate yard art is. Never mind what you gotta do to go, I mean, you got 118 yay votes to change at 2/3 to change the covenants. And I'll guarantee you, this month's salary,
Yeah, no,
you
I know.
can't get 118 to show up for anything.
Right.
You can't get them to show up at a block party, never mind get a
Yeah,
consensus. of
this is a good turnout for the annual meeting.
My point is, your point's well taken relative to the what if and the resale and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, John's yard, and I defended this from the moment I walked on this board, and Joel's yard are as neatly kept relative to some of the houses in the neighborhood as anybody.
Yeah, no,
And I do a pretty
don't
damn good
disagree.
job with my yard, so I can speak from knowing what it takes to have it look like his yard.
Right, right.
And when I talked to Joel, I mean, it was kind of comical. I mean, he's got his African motif inside too. I mean, it's just his style,
Right.
not mine. It's not my house either. But
Right.
I can guarantee you, the guy that lives next door to somebody who shits up to here
No, I don't disagree with that at all, and I think there's a balance between the two. I mean, if you go into Lee's Park, or you go into Lee's Hill, or I'm trying to think of other ones. Like, you go into those other ones. Part of the problem is that, and this is partly my fault, because we've been in this neighborhood since the beginning. When the developer handed over the covenants, they were basic Virginia boilerplate
Well,
covenants.
there's no question there. Take a look
And
at
there
the
was
fence
nothing
coming
there.
down, the fences coming down Glenda's Way, you get that answer right away.
Right, so, I mean,
Keeping
part
in
of that
mind.
is our fault, that we didn't step up at the time, but at the time, everything looked good. So we didn't step up and do it, and then, as, like you said, once things start going downhill, you know, you can't
I mean, there's
get
a
it back,
snowball
but-
effect here, and I'm not sure what the solution is. We know for 6 years what the solution was.
Is there anybody else here that hasn't spoken yet that'd like to address the rhino, or feels similarly about the rhino?
I think when you live in an HOA, you do have an expectation that there are gonna be rules.
Yes.
And